There's a lot going on, so let's jump right into it. First, let's talk about how Bitcoin shook off that 25 basis point rate hike. We saw a nice climb to $41,000 after the Fed announced the first interest rate increase in 3 years. Now, even though Bitcoin is choppy and people were getting tired of seeing it hovering in the 39,000 range, I do want to point out that it has been performing better than equities since the war broke out in Ukraine. And I think that's because people are really recognizing Bitcoin's value and promise as a solid alternative to the US dollar and other foreign assets that can be debased or manipulated or even seized by central authorities. So people think the pressure is on with Bitcoin amid these rate hikes this year, but I certainly think the pressure is actually on the Fed, which has to be careful going forward because they need to show the country they are serious about fighting inflation by raising rates. But they can't spark a credit collapse or a recession, and any form of aggressive tightening could really spin things out of control. So I think the bottom is in for now with Bitcoin, but of course, we'll continue to see how everything plays out. Meanwhile, the attacks on Bitcoin and crypto by Senator Elizabeth Warren are not letting up. She announced this week a new bill to block crypto companies from conducting business with companies facing economic sanctions. It would add non-US based crypto companies to sanctions lists if they do business with entities that have been economically restricted. And obviously, this is all in light of what's happening in Russia. But also, under this bill, crypto exchanges operating here in the US would be prohibited from conducting transactions for or with crypto addresses belonging to people based in Russia. This, of course, can get a bit dicey because there are average citizens in Russia or of Russian descent who oppose the war, and they are being crippled by the collapsing value of the ruble and the inability to use things like Visa and MasterCard or buy goods and services from certain companies. So a very double-edged sword here, but also one with some workarounds due to Bitcoin's ability to be self-custody. Now, moving on to the war overseas in Ukraine, Ukraine continues to defend itself against Russia and is now legalizing Bitcoin. President Zelensky just signed into law a bill on virtual assets. And this is really interesting timing given the ongoing battles, the crisis, but it really highlights the fact that crypto is playing a big role in financing both military aid and refugee assistance. The country has received tens of millions of dollars, I'm told even possibly $100 million in crypto donations. And now this law will determine the legal status, classification, ownership, and regulators of virtual assets like Bitcoin. The law also sets registration requirements, and exchanges will be regulated and allowed to operate legally with banks opening accounts. The Ministry of Finance also said that they will be working on amendments to the country's tax code to fully launch the market for virtual assets. So a lot going on amid this war. And I think it's been really inspiring to see people getting help in real time via Bitcoin in Ukraine. People can send donations directly with no counterparty risk, no delays, no censorship. And that money can't be confiscated at any border. You may have actually seen this week some social media posts showing suitcases stuffed with cash and valuables obviously seized at borders. So it really highlights the use case of Bitcoin's portability, especially in the middle of a crisis. Now, back here in the US this week, we also heard from Mayor Francis Suarez of Miami and Mayor Eric Adams of New York City at a fintech conference about how they believe blockchain technology will help increase economic competition, equality, and diversity in their cities. Now, Suarez believes America needs to become a leader in crypto and Bitcoin so that we have the ability to outmaneuver countries like China and Russia. And meanwhile, Mayor Adams said that he believes the technology will help even the playing field economically and provide a new incentive structure that promotes equality. I'd say we agree. And just a final note here, I had the honor of meeting President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador this week, one-on-one. I'm so grateful that he took the time to meet with me. So I just wanted to say, a lot of people were curious. Meeting him in person left me with such a great impression of both his character and his vision for El Salvador. I can't share everything we talked about just yet, but he's very, very easygoing, very knowledgeable about Bitcoin, and very hopeful about the kind of future that he can create for his country. So very inspired and grateful for that meeting.